I used family therapy to finally tell my dad's wife the truth. And now, they're calling me abusive. Yeah, it sounds twisted. But let me back up a bit. Growing up, things were never simple. My mom passed away when I was really young. And after that, everything just changed. My dad remarried when I was 8. Annie became a part of our lives. But to me, she was always just my dad's wife. Never my stepmom. Never someone I could call family. It was like I was living in a different world. A world where my real family was kept at a distance. I wanted to visit my mom's grave, you know? Spend time with her side of the family. But my dad, he had other plans. He decided that seeing my mom's family wasn't okay. Why? Because they wouldn't treat my step-siblings like their own grandkids. So, visits were rare. Once or twice a year if I was lucky. It felt like my dad was smart about it. He kept just enough contact so my mom's family couldn't fight for visitation. And that left me stuck. Stuck with Annie's family. Stuck with people who felt like strangers. I wasn't even close to my dad's side, thanks to him and Annie. I felt isolated. Lost in my own home. And then there were the graves. I wanted to visit my mom's on Mother's Day. On her birthday. Just be there. But every time I was told no. Mother's Day was for celebrating Annie, apparently. And yet, we'd visit Annie's family graves. All of them. Dragged along to pay respects to people I didn't know. The unfairness of it all. It was suffocating. When I got old enough to go on my own, I did. And I got punished. For visiting my own mother. I was always pushing back against Annie. I never called her my mom. Never called her my stepmom. Just my dad's wife. And that bugged them, I think. They punished me for every little rebellion. For not doing a reading at Annie's brother's funeral. For leaving them out of a digital family tree project. For not telling them about Mother's Day or Father's Day activities. The list goes on, but I stood my ground. Then, about 11 months ago, they decided on family therapy. A last-ditch effort, I guess. For 8 months, I was quiet. Not a word. But then I thought, why not? Why not use this to finally speak my truth? So I did. I told them I hate them. I told them their rules were dumb. I told them I don't care about Annie's family or her dead relatives. That they mean nothing to me. I said I'd visit my mom's grave when I moved out. That I'd never celebrate a holiday with them again. I told them I have no respect for them. No love for Annie or her kids. And every time we met, I found new ways to say it. To make them understand. Of course, they didn't take it well. They said I was abusing therapy. Abusing them. But I told the therapist, I don't want to change things. And here I am wondering, am I the one in the wrong? Or is this just my way of finally being heard? You know, speaking up in therapy was like finally letting out a breath I'd been holding in for years. But now, sitting here, I'm flooded with this mix of relief and doubt. It's like, did I go too far? Or was it just enough to finally get through to them? Every time I think about Annie being called my mom, it feels like a betrayal to my real mom. I can't help but think that if she were still here, things would be so different. I wonder what she would say about all this. About Dad's choices. About Annie stepping into her place. Would she understand why I'm so angry? Why I've been holding on to this resentment. Like a lifeline. I guess I wanted Dad to listen. Really listen. For once. Not just hear me, but understand what it's been like. To lose my mom and then be forced into this new family dynamic that I never asked for. It's like every decision he made felt like a step further away from my real family, from the life I knew and wanted to hold on to. And Annie, she probably thinks she's done nothing wrong. Maybe she even believes she's tried her best to include me, but it always felt forced. Like she was more interested in creating this picture-perfect family than actually getting to know me. Like when she would make me go to those family gatherings, expecting me to blend in as if I'd known those people my whole life. It never felt right. The therapy sessions were my chance to lay it all out. No more pretending. No more keeping quiet to keep the peace. I needed them to know that I wasn't just a rebellious kid acting out. I was a kid who lost his mom and felt like he was losing his family all over again. And maybe I was a bit harsh, but I needed them to feel even a fraction of the frustration and hurt I felt. But now, it's like I'm left with this emptiness. Like, I've said everything I needed to say, but what now? There's no going back. I can't unsay those words, and honestly, I wouldn't even if I could, but it did leave me wondering if there's any chance for things to change. Not that I want a miracle or anything. Just maybe some kind of understanding. I look at my dad sometimes and wonder if he regrets any of it. If he ever thinks about how things could have been different. I don't know if he sees me as just a difficult teenager or if he genuinely thinks about how his choices have shaped my life. Now, every therapy session feels like a standoff. I say what I have to say, and they just sit there, looking at me like they don't even recognize their own son. Maybe they don't. Maybe I'm not who they thought I would be, but I can't be anything else. Not anymore. And as for Annie, she probably wishes I'd just disappear. Blend into the background until I'm old enough to move out. I guess that's the plan anyway. But until then, I'm here, still speaking my truth, hoping maybe, just maybe, something will change. Every time I step into that therapy room now, I feel this strange mix of defiance and exhaustion. It's like I'm ready to fight, but I'm so tired of fighting all the time. I mean, how long can you keep yelling into a void before you just get tired of hearing your own voice? But what else is there to do? I've said my piece, and they still don't get it. Sometimes I catch myself wondering if they even want to understand, or if they're just there to tick a box. Tried to fix family issues before the kids leave home. Maybe that's all it is to them. But for me, it's so much more. It's my life, my reality, and all I want is for them to see that. There's this part of me that hopes my dad will have this moment of clarity, that he'll suddenly get it and things will change. But another part of me knows better. I mean, he's been making these choices for years, choices that pushed me away rather than brought us closer. And Annie, she might think she's tried, but it always felt more like duty than genuine care. And then there's the thought that maybe this is just how it is. Maybe some families never find that common ground. Maybe I just have to come to terms with it. Let go of this idea that things will ever be how I wish they could be. It's a tough pill to swallow, though. Accepting that this might be it. This constant tension. This distance. But I still wonder, what if I'm missing something? What if there's something I haven't said? Something that could change everything? Or maybe there's something I need to hear from them. Something they've never said. I think about all the things I haven't said. All the things I keep buried because saying them might make it all too real. Like admitting that despite everything, there's still this small part of me that wants to be part of a family again. To feel like I belong somewhere. But then I remember how often I've been let down. And that hope just fades away. And now, as I sit here reflecting on all of this, I can't help but ask myself one last thing. Is there still a chance for us? I remember after the last therapy session, I just sat in my room staring at the ceiling, feeling like I was caught in this endless loop. You know those moments when you say everything you've been holding in, and instead of feeling lighter, you just feel raw? That's where I was. I'd finally spoken my truth, but now I was left with the aftermath. The house felt different after that session. There was this tension, heavy and suffocating, lingering in the air. I could feel it every time I walked past Dad or Annie. It's like they didn't know what to say to me, and honestly, I didn't know what to say to them either. It's strange living with people who are supposed to be your family and feeling like you're strangers. I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd crossed some line, like maybe I'd gone too far this time. But then I'd remind myself of all those times I'd been forced to play along, to act like everything was fine when it wasn't. And I'd get angry all over again, thinking about how unfair it all was, how much I'd had to give up. But even with all that anger, I knew there was more to it. Beneath the surface, there was this sadness, this longing for something different. I guess a part of me still hoped for some kind of miracle, some breakthrough where everything would just click into place. But hope felt dangerous, like setting myself up for disappointment. I found myself thinking a lot about my mom during those times, wondering what she would have thought of everything, how she might have handled it. I missed her so much. Missed having someone who truly got me. She was my anchor. And without her, I felt adrift. Like I was just waiting for something to hold on to. Dad wasn't much of a talker even before Annie came into the picture, but now it felt like there was this wall between us. A wall built of unspoken words, of choices made without me. I wanted to reach out to find some way to bridge that gap, but every time I tried, it seemed like we were speaking different languages. And Annie, well, she kept her distance too. Maybe she thought giving me space was what I needed. Or maybe she was just tired of trying. I don't know. But it felt like we were living in this cold war where every conversation was loaded, every silence deafening. Therapy was supposed to be this space where we could work things out, but it just felt like yet another battleground. I didn't want to fight anymore. I was exhausted, and all I really wanted was some peace, some understanding. But that seemed so far out of reach. As the days passed, I tried to focus on the future, on the idea that soon I'd be able to make my own choices, that I'd find a way to reconnect with my mom's side of the family, to visit her grave without fear of punishment. But part of me was scared too. Scared that leaving wouldn't fix anything, that the distance wouldn't heal these wounds. And then there's that nagging thought, what if I'm wrong? What if there's something I'm missing? Some piece of the puzzle that could change everything? I wish I knew. I wish I had the answers. But in the end, I'm left with this one haunting question. Can we ever truly be a family? After that last therapy session, I was left with all these swirling emotions, like a storm that just wouldn't settle. I thought about everything I'd said, all the things I'd held back for so long, and how it felt to finally let them out. But instead of relief, I felt exposed, like I'd stripped away all my defenses and was just standing there bare with nothing to shield me from the fallout. I'd hoped, maybe naively, that speaking my truth would somehow bring about change, that my dad and Annie would finally see things from my perspective, that they'd understand why I'd been so angry, so distant. But the reality was, everything was just more strained. I couldn't tell if they were reflecting on what I'd said or just building up their own defenses against it. Living in that house was like being in a play where no one knew their lines. We'd move around each other, careful not to bump into the raw edges of what had been said. Every meal was awkward. Every shared space a reminder of the things we couldn't unsay. I felt like I was tiptoeing on eggshells, constantly aware of the tension in the air. I kept thinking about how unfair it was, how I'd never asked for any of this, for my family to change so drastically after my mom died. I didn't choose this new life with Annie and her kids, yet I was the one who had to bear the brunt of it all, deal with the rules and the restrictions that came with it. I was just a kid who wanted his mom back, who wanted to feel like he belonged somewhere. And then I'd wonder if maybe I had been too harsh. If in my quest to be heard, I'd pushed too hard, cross lines I couldn't uncross. But then I'd remember all the times I'd been silenced, all the times I'd been forced to accept things I didn't want. It was a constant back and forth in my head, a battle between anger and regret. I spent a lot of time in my room just thinking, trying to make sense of it all, to figure out what I really wanted. I thought about my mom a lot, wishing I could talk to her, ask her what she'd do. She always knew how to make things better, how to bring calm to chaos. I missed that so much. Missed having someone who truly understood me. I knew I needed to find a way forward, a way to live with the choices that had been made for me. But it was hard to see a path when everything felt so broken. I wanted to believe that things could get better, that maybe one day we'd find a way to be a family. But hope felt fragile, like a glass that could shatter at the slightest touch. And as I sat there, lost in these thoughts, I realized that maybe the answers wouldn't come from them. Maybe they had to come from me. That perhaps I needed to find peace within myself first, to let go of the anger and the hurt that had been my constant companions for so long. I knew it wouldn't be easy, that it would take time, and maybe more therapy, more honest conversations, but I also knew I had to try, for my own sake, because in the end I couldn't keep living in this limbo, caught between what was and what might never be. So here I am, still searching, still hoping that somehow we can find a way through this, that maybe, just maybe, there's a chance for healing, for understanding. And I can't help but wonder, can we ever truly find peace as a family?